You're very welcome to That's the Spirit, where I shall share the stories behind some of Ireland's most remarkable distilleries. The people, the places, and the spirit that makes them what they are. Today we're heading to the Boyne Valley, to a stretch of land in County Meath that's been farmed by the same family for the last 7 generations. A place where history runs as deep as the river itself. This is the story of Boann Distillery. The River Boyne has always been more than just a river. Battles were fought on its banks, kingdoms rose and fell around it. And long before any of that, legend tells us that it was created by a goddess, Boann, who challenged the power of a sacred well and paid for it with her life. The river bears her name to this day. It felt right then that when Patrick and Marie Cooney decided to build a distillery on the banks of that river, they named it after her too. Patrick Cooney is not a man who stumbled into the drinks industry. He spent decades building M&J Gleeson into one of Ireland's most significant drinks businesses. Bottling, wholesale, importing. He knew the trade inside out. But he always had one more ambition. To create his own whiskey. Something that would carry the family name forward in a different way. When he sold the business in 2013, the ambition became a plan. And that wasn't just Patrick's project. It was a family one. 4 of his children came with him. Each with their own role, each with their own piece of the story to carry. That's the thing about Boann, it's not a distillery that happens to talk about family. It actually is one. Built just outside Drogheda, and that location matters. Drogheda has one of the oldest connections to whisky in Ireland. One of the first written records of whisky production in this country appears in the Act of Parliament in Drogheda in 1556. At its peak, the town had 18 distilleries. 18! By the time Boann came along, there hadn't been a drop distilled there in over 160 years. When spirit first flowed from the Boann stills in December 2019, it wasn't just another distillery opening. It felt like something that was being brought back to life. And they didn't do it quietly. The stills were custom built in Italy, fitted with nanotechnology that gives 6 times more copper contact than the standard still. Everything triple distilled. Everything from grain to bottle under one roof. Even the grain is grown on the family farm or sourced locally whenever possible. So that connection to the Boyne Valley isn't just part of their story, it's part of the whisky itself. The water drawn from their own deep well in the Boyne Valley. What really sets Boann apart isn't the technology, it's what they choose to make with it. Pot still Irish whiskey. Perhaps the most distinctly Irish style of whiskey there is. Made using a combination of malted and unmalted barley, single pot still whiskey is known for its rich texture, spice and complexity. It's a style that is completely unique to Ireland and one that had almost disappeared before a new generation of distillers started bringing it back. Rich, spicy and unlike anything else. It's a style that had almost disappeared, and Boann decided to bring it back, properly. They went digging, working with whisky historian Dr. O'Connor. They tracked down lost mash bill recipes dating back to the 1820s. They recreated them, they distilled them, they learned from them. That research was so significant, it contributed to proposed changes in EU legislation around how single pot still Irish whisky is defined. For me, that's where Boann stands out. They weren't interested in copying the past. They wanted to understand it, and in doing so, they've helped shape the future of Irish whiskey. On the summer solstice of 2024, they released their first core range of Boann single pot still Irish whiskies. Marsala, Madeira and Pedro Jimenez. These aren't 3 completely different whiskies. They're all built around the same single pot still spirit. What changes is the cask they're finished in, and that's what gives each one of these its own personality. The Marsala finish is probably the brightest of the 3. Fresh orchard fruit, honey and a gentle spice that makes it incredibly approachable. And it's a brilliant introduction to what Boann is all about. The Madeira takes things in a richer direction, think dried fruit, toasted nuts and a warming spice, while still holding on to that creamy character that's so typical of an Irish pot still whiskey. And then there's the Pedro Jimenez finish. For me, that's the richest of the range. Dark fruit, raisins, figs, chocolate and those Christmas cake flavours that PX casks are famous for. I love that they didn't launch with 10 different whiskies trying to be everything to everyone. They launched with 3 expressions that tell the same story, just through 3 different casks. The Solstice, the Boyne Valley, Newgrange just down the road, 5,000 years of history in the landscape around them. Some distilleries talk about a sense of place. Boann actually has one. And now beyond Ireland's shores, the story is being told by people who believe in it just as much as the family do. And one of those people is Ludo Delamere. I wandered over to the Boann stand at Wine Paris back in February, and we ended up having one of those conversations that just keeps on going. We spoke a bit of French, a bit of English, and by the end of it, I felt like I'd known him for years. He's the kind of person, funny, warm, easy to talk to, the kind of guy you walk away from thinking, I need to have a chat again with him sometime. Which, as it happens, hopefully I will at Whisky Life Paris this year. Ludo is a French man based in Barcelona, and he looks after European sales in general. But his story in Irish whiskey started long before that, and in a very Irish way. A friend of his mother's knew someone in Dingle. That was the connection. He arrived in the west of Ireland with not much English and found his way into the industry through Dingle Distillery. And there's something very fitting about that. The roundabout connection, the leap of fate, landing somewhere and just figuring it all out as you go. When I think about Boann, I don't think of a young distillery. I think of a family that chose to look backwards before looking forwards. They brought distilling back to Drogheda. They revived forgotten mash bills. They've shown that some of the best ideas for the future of Irish whiskey can come from its past. And that's a story worth telling. So next time when you see a bottle of Boann on the shelf, remember you're holding more than just a whiskey. You're holding generations of one family's ambition and a revival of distilling in Drogheda, and a distillery helping write the next chapter of Irish whiskey. If you're enjoying That's the Spirit, make sure to follow, like and leave a review. And until next time, Sláinte.